Hi there. My name is Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks.
And hello there, I'm James Maynard, otherwise known as Sweet Baby James.
And tonight I'm going to be talking about something that really irks us when other people do it, that we have a tendency to rationalize when we do it. And I want to look at the big picture of why it's so common and what we can actually do about doing something about changing how often people do it. So I'm talking about lying.
Oh,
Lying. So anyway, there you go. Now Facebook has just changed something, and see, I opened it up and I can't see my page anymore. Wonderful. Here we go. So, but before I get into this juicy topic, and I'm going to ask you to please comment and share how you lie and when you lie also. But before we do all that, Sweet Baby James is going to introduce our show.
Well, yes, welcome to Beth Green, the Music and the Message, otherwise known as Granny Rocks. And every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. we have the opportunity to hear Beth share her perspectives on what's going on with us as human beings, with her uncommon sense, her wit, and her wisdom. So over to you, Beth.
Hi there. Oh, yes, finally I found our page. Okay, we have comments already. Elizabeth says, hi there, hi there. Elizabeth Catalina says, good evening. Good evening to you. Tracy says, hello, hello.
Hello.
And Amy says, thank you so much for this topic. And I'm telling the truth. So I love that. All right, so I want to start out by talking about the big picture of lying. You know, it may seem really obvious, but let's go over some of the obvious here. Why do people lie? Well, and I will also talk a little bit later about when it begins, but there are a couple of things. One is to avoid a negative consequence. Second is for gain. And third is to protect someone else, and there could be a reason behind that, too. So let's talk a little bit about the why we lie part. So, to avoid negative consequences. All right, some people are really upset about the January 6th mob scene at the Capitol, where 5 people died. And so there's a desire among some to have a commission to study it. Now, do the people who want that commission, do they want to punish the other party? Don't lie. Well, of course they do. And the people who feel threatened by the commission, aren't they just trying to protect themselves? Of course. And so what we have is we have the self-righteous people saying we need a commission. We have the other side saying, oh no, this is unfair. It'll be slanted. Like there's anything good that you can say about the Capitol insurrection anyway. And it's so much lying. I mean, it kind of
Did you
is
say
sort of
insurrection?
sickening.
Why, I heard some of these political representatives saying that, oh, it's nothing more than a bunch of tourists getting out of hand, you know?
Right, a bunch of tourists getting out of hand and killing 5 people. And they had guns and all kinds of stuff, smashing barricades. They got a little out of hand, and they were definitely egged on by the president. So anyway, we know how this gets all wrapped up in self-interest, don't we? It's like, what is your interest in this? To go forward with this commission or not to? And whatever side you're on, the other side will probably make you upset. So what is the negative consequence that people are afraid of if we go ahead with the commission and determine that what happened, which we know. I mean, we saw it on television, right? We saw it on Facebook, on YouTube, on the news. We saw it everywhere. So somebody might be punished. Somebody might be embarrassed. Somebody might be held accountable. And
I think accountability is a big one, because if there's a commission, some of those very representatives and senators can be subpoenaed and speak under oath as to what they saw and knew,
right,
as opposed to trying to lie about it.
Right. Well, clearly there is there would be consequences. So people are trying to avoid consequences. And why? Because they don't want to be punished. They don't want to lose their income. They don't want to lose their position. They don't want to lose face. They don't want to be humiliated. So everybody is aware of that. Now let's take some other kinds of examples. Did Brett Kavanaugh molest Christine Ford? Is that her name? I have no memory. Anyway.
That sounds familiar.
So he's going to say, I wasn't even there. I didn't do it. I had nothing to do with it. She's going to say, I saw him, you skunk. Who's right? Who's lying? Maybe neither of them even knows that they're lying. Maybe he was too drunk to remember what he did. Maybe she was too drunk to remember who did it. I don't know. My point is, I'm not here to pass judgment on any of these things. I'm talking about why people lie. They don't want to. Brett Kavanaugh doesn't want to be humiliated. He doesn't want to lose his position, his political position, his income, his face, his family's respect. And Christine, I know there was a middle name, which I can't remember. She is absolutely determined to say that she really did see it. I'm not saying she didn't. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that we don't want that. And one of the things that the person who's being accused of being the perpetrator doesn't want is to be exposed as a certain kind of person. That is like, oh my God, so much of our lives is based on our reputation. So if you discover that somebody lied or somebody ripped you off or somebody raped somebody or that's a bad thing for your reputation, and that could have a bad consequence for your career. So now you're going to be grasping for, I was in a haze. I don't actually recall. So at this point, you're in another never land where, you start confusing yourself. Now, I would like to ask you if you have ever had an experience where you were accused of something and you're saying, no, I didn't do it, and your stomach is turning upside down because you know that you did it.
Well, as a kid, I'd be accused of hitting my brother, who was a year younger, and I say, no, I didn't do that. And, of course, I did.
Exactly.
I wanted to avoid being held responsible and punished.
That's right. So we're trying to avoid punishment, and we're trying to avoid humiliation, and we're trying to avoid, sometimes we're trying to avoid going to prison or being executed or something equally dire. So now that's one kind of reason that we lie. Now we can be lying for gain. For example, if I have a boss who wants me to say certain things like, oh yes, we turned a profit last year, but we didn't, I'm going to say, there is a way that I can make it look like we turned a profit. How can I cook the books to make it look like we turned a profit? And I'm doing that because I want the boss to like me. Or I'm going to protect the president because I want his support. I don't want him to be against me. So at this point, I am trying to say what somebody wants to hear. Todd just said hi, and hi to you, Todd.
Hi, Todd.
So there may be another way that we can gain by lying. For instance, we have an opponent, and we try to undermine them. We try to say, oh, that restaurant, they have rats in the kitchen, or something, you know what I mean? Or he did it, or she did it, or because we want to, or, oh, my opponent in the boxing ring, he did something illegal, or, this happens, or, oh, it was oh, yes, the tennis ball was out of bounds, or it was in bounds. I mean, there's so many reasons, and we're trying to gain something. Another reason...
Especially like applying for a job.
Yes.
And exaggerating your background, exaggerating your qualifications.
I hope that you're beginning to realize just...
Or trying to gain a positive relationship with another person and, minimizing your vices and maximizing your...
Exactly. Like going on your first date and not wanting to mention you have HIV or that you have herpes or that you're making more money. You have a higher position in society than you want to admit to. So we started with something that's really obvious, like, oh, the commission around the January 6th, and we're beginning to get a little bit closer to home, and I hope it's getting very uncomfortable. I hope that you are beginning to look at yourself and saying, now, when do I lie? How many people have lied on their income taxes, even if it's just a little bit? Well, everybody does it. If I don't lie, then I'm not going to be, really, I'm going to be at a disadvantage over everybody else. So we're talking about a gain, and we start doing it very, very young. And after a while, we're not even sure what we did, because our perceptions start getting impacted by the story that we tell over and over. If I tell the same story over and over and over, it's very likely that I'm going to believe some of it, and I won't even remember that I made up that part. Oh, yes, I took Aunt Rosie to the doctor, didn't I? Okay, another reason we lie is to protect someone that we depend on. So let's say we have a child, and she's shooting heroin, and she's taking drugs and stuff like that, and I don't want her to get kicked out of the rehab center, or I don't want her to go to prison, or him. And because I'm dependent on that person for love, and they're going to be very mad at me if I don't lie for them. And so I just try to make it look a little bit different from the way it is. Or I may depend on a spouse who supports me financially. And so I may be willing to lie in order for them not to go to the prison, because I want their money, their income. Or I'm willing to underestimate my abusiveness towards the children because I don't want to lose custody. And so now that is going off on a different topic, but this is to protect someone we depend on. So we might actually lie for that person. Yes, we sort of know that they're molesting the child, or we have a sense of it, but we don't have any hardcore evidence, so we're going to make it look like, oh, they probably didn't do that. So now we're protecting someone we depend on financially, someone we depend on emotionally. We may depend on them for our social status. I might be Mrs. So-and-so, and I don't want my husband to go down, because then who am I in the world? It's not just the income. It's like I may not have anything with myself. So I've just talked about different kinds of lies we tell. Now, I want you to ask yourself, how many lies have you told today? I mean, they can be tiny lies, big lies, covering up your true motives. Like somebody will say, are you angry at me? And you say, I'm not angry. I'm not the least bit angry. I don't know what makes you think that I'm angry. That's a bold-faced lie. You really are angry, but you don't want to look like the kind of person who gets angry. So there you have it. And just a little bit of a lie here and a little lie there until you're on the slippery slope. You have to remember all your lies. It's very uncomfortable. And you also get into the habit of lying. So if anybody wants to share with us some lies that they're telling, we would love to hear that. But if you may not want to talk about it because you're too busy lying. So anyway, so it starts young, but I want to get to what to do about it. And I'm going to get to that in a minute, because you may say, oh, well, I know this. But really, how much have you thought about this in this kind of depth? Because when we are still young, it's like James was saying, we may be lying because we don't want to be punished by our parents. We may be lying because we want to say that we did something so that a younger sibling or a weaker sibling doesn't get hurt. We may be lying because we don't want our mother or father to lose their job. We don't want to be taken away from the family, so we don't want to tell them that we are being abused, because then we're going to be out there. Blanquita says hi, and she waved too. Hi back. So we start lying. Oh, yes, I didn't do my homework. I couldn't come to school today because I had a stomach ache. Right. But, of course, if it had been a basketball game, I would have been there. Yeah. So, what's the lie? Where is the lie, right? It's like, oh no, I didn't really lie. And Blanquita says, Beth and James, hello, hello to you, Blanquita. So we can start saying, well, I didn't exactly lie. Well, I did have a twinge in my stomach, or I felt tired, or, well, I did feel lousy. That's because I stayed up all night last night. All right, now, the question is, if lying is so common, and companies, big corporations have lied about dumping toxins in water, about lead in pipes, about defects in vehicles. They lie about what you're going to get if you buy their product. I mean, it's just lie after lie after lie. If you follow my process, you will get 1,000 views on Facebook in the next 15 minutes. And Ima said, hello, good morning, and hello, good morning to you. So the real question, since it's pretty obvious that we all lie to some degree at some point, even if it's just, just a little bit, just making it look a little bit different from the way it is, how do we stop it? How do we stop it in society? And this is what I think we have to do. Obviously, it would be nice to say, well, we should all just get honorable. That would be nice. But what I really think it is that we need to stop punishing and humiliating people.
Mm-hmm.
See, so much of our lying is based on our fear of punishment. And that punishment can just be humiliation. So somebody is being accused of sexual harassment or rape or something. Well, the consequences are so dire that you're afraid to tell the truth because your life will be altered forever. Now, the truth is our lives are altered forever when we lie because our guts don't give us peace. We still know, no matter how much we rationalize, no matter how much we pretend, we know that we're lying. But let's say instead of punishing people for sexual indiscretions or molestation or sexual harassment or stealing or hitting somebody, or supposing people, instead of they being punished, they were being helped. Do you realize how many people want to stop what they're doing? How many of us are doing things that in our guts we know we don't want to do? We say things we don't want to say. We are disgusted with ourselves. Those people, and there's a lot of us, are candidates for being supported to change the behavior. It always appalls me to see how people who are accused of sexual harassment or worse are busy defending themselves because of the dire consequences instead of getting helped to overcome their sex addiction. Don't you know when you've done something bad? When I say bad, I mean hurtful to others. I don't mean it in a moralistic way. I mean hurtful, something that hurts other people. When you beat a child or neglect a child, can't you see it in that child's face? Don't you want to stop? If you do, you need help and you need support. Being punished and being humiliated, those things don't help people come forward and say, I have a problem. A lot of people have problems with drugs and they've been illegal and they're afraid to talk about their drug addiction, or they're alcoholic and it's humiliating, or people are going to say, when you get drunk, mom or dad, you're rageful, you hurt us, oh my God, I'm going to lose my children if anybody knows that I'm an alcoholic. See, I honestly think that the answer is to stop the consequence and change the consequence from punishment to help. I'm not saying that there aren't people who have no choice, who can't maybe be helped, or who are pathological liars, whatever that means. I don't know. I don't know everything. But I do know that for me, that if somebody would love me when I make a mistake, I would probably be more likely to admit it. If we were willing to stop using the other person's bad behavior in order to gain an advantage over them, which brings me back to the initial topic that I talked about with the commission to study the Capitol riot, which is, why don't we look at why this happened? Sita gave us a message, but I'm not sure what this has to do with the IDCO, International Health Education Sanskrit Coordination Club, Nepal. I don't know if Sita is just advertising something or that relates to the topic. So I
or
said
maybe
it.
This is a way of her introducing herself.
Oh, it could be. You're
She's
from
Nepal, and this is what she does.
Well, it could be. Could be.
In any case, welcome.
Welcome. That's right. I would like you to ask yourself right now, since nobody volunteered how they lie on the chat, I want you to ask yourself, what do you need to stop lying?
Well, by the way, I have something.
What?
So often, you ask me the question, I feel something's wrong, something's off, And my little lie is, oh, I don't feel anything. There's no problem. I'm not angry. I'm not resenting. I'm not all of those kinds of things. I'm not anxious. And you
I'm not
are very,
distant.
I'm not distant.
I'm not
detached. Denial is very close to lying. It is lying.
Denial is lying.
It is lying.
So it would be really good for you to ask yourself, James, what do you need to stop lying to yourself? And the saddest day comes when we can't even tell that we're lying.
Mm-hmm.
We have told the lie so many times. We've gotten into the habit, and we don't even realize that we're lying. My heart goes out to you if you lie. You're afraid of something, or you're trying to gain something, or you're trying to protect somebody, but in the end, you're hurting yourself and everybody else. When we bring things to the surface that allows us to make amends, and I have a whole program on how to make amends, which is in my book, Living with Reality, which is a free download on my website. And Terry said, hello, family. Oh, how delightful, Terry, to hear from you. And Amy said, I
Hi,
tell
Terry.
someone that I enjoyed a particular conversation when I didn't, and I'm not willing to discuss an underlying problem between us. Very good example.
Well done, Amy. Well done.
Very good. And Todd said, I need to think about where I am lying, and I'm glad we'll be meeting after this to discuss it. So, which brings up something. We have a discussion group every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time called Seeing Through New Glasses. And we talk about the show. It's a video conference. If you're interested in it, there is a charge. This, of course, is free. There is a charge for that discussion. It's a small discussion.
Led by you.
It is led by me. I'm there, and it's a wonderful group. So if you're interested, come and take a look at write to me at beth@bethgreen.org, and we'll see if we can include it. So I am praying that we stop lying. That one of the ways that we lie is to pretend that we don't. That we always, for instance, when I told James that I was going to do a show on lying, he immediately talked about the Republicans and the
Right.
Capitol riot, right?
Externalize it out there.
Externalize it. It's about them. It's about what they do. That isn't going to heal us. That is not going to make us more whole. So I want to remind you that every Thursday night, which is tomorrow, at 7 p.m. Pacific time, I play the piano on what we are now calling Beth Green's Magical Piano Improvisations. And the music is soothing and helpful, and people find it inspiring, and it helps them with their feelings and their courage and their anxiety. And we invite you to come back to our Facebook page and watch. And we invite you to like this show, to love the show, to comment, even if you didn't comment live. If you commented and I didn't answer, it's because something happened with the technology. But if you write to me later, or I didn't get this, I will answer you later. This is an important topic, and I hope sincerely that I am supporting us to move in a more enlightened direction, one where we support one another in our frailties. We would not lie if we felt good about ourselves.
And if we felt supported by each other.
And if we felt, exactly. So please share this program with everybody that you know. Like, comment, love, and share. And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye for now. Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.